If you're a business owner and you are finding yourself a little bit stuck, but you know you can grow more, you know you can make more sales, make more money, have an easier life, and somehow you've just reached what I sometimes call the glass ceiling. You know that you can go a bit further, you know that you can just make it all happen, but somewhere in amongst it, you're just fighting a little bit in your own head and trying to figure out that right path. Well, in this video, I'm going to give you something that might change your thinking around how valuable a particular position is within your organization. Now, while I'm a little bit subtle, it starts off about your perception. Your perception of this position might be quite low, and I want to try and encourage you to lift your perception of it. And the position is that of accountant. And accountants have been the butt of many a joke for a long, long time, because the world of accountancy from the outside, if you don't understand it, can appear to be dull, can appear to be, backroom stuff that nobody really understands, but recognizes that it's important because we've got things like compliance and rules and regulations, but doesn't perhaps understand where the benefits are. But also don't actually understand the accountants themselves. In order to do the accounting work, quite often you need a brain that allows you to sit quietly and process things and work out puzzles and work out why things don't work and why things do work and piece it all together. And I can tell you, I've worked with thousands of accountants over the years. I have been and still am an accountant for 35 plus years. I may not look like one, I may not act like one, because I actually spend most of my time now doing coaching and mentoring. But we still run an accountancy practice and I employ accountants to do that role. And the information that comes out of the accounting system is only part of it. And that information sits at the bottom here, and it's called bookkeeping. And I want to help you understand the difference between the language that goes on within the accounting industry, because sometimes it can be quite confusing. A set of accounts, a client account, a supplier account, your account, it seems to use the same word everywhere. Even I sit there and wonder why we ended up with this language. But there is a massive difference between the functionality of the person you employ and your perception of that person might be incorrect because of the information that you've got today. And if I can help you change that perception, I'd like you to sit at the end of this and go, oh, that's interesting. I need to go and explore this. The bookkeeper's role traditionally was to record the transactions as they occur. It's the record keeping, it's the keeping of the books. In the old days before computerized systems, we had ledgers, actual books, and they were written up by hand, which is where the sort of notion of somebody sitting quietly scribbling away back in Dickens times, Bob Cratchit writing his books out. That's the perception you get. Well, guess what? You need to sit quietly to write up the books accurately and not make mistakes. So it does require a quiet mind, a quiet person, a diligent person. It also requires intelligent person, somebody who knows what they're doing. Now, of course, we can go one stage lower and you can do it yourself. You can do the bookkeeping yourself as a DIY job, as opposed to employing a professional bookkeeper. Now, what makes that a little bit easier is that in modern day systems, we have our cloud-based accounting system. And there's another confusing word. What is an accounting system? Well, it is. But what it really is, firstly, is a bookkeeping system. We're going to put the transactions as they occur into that system, into that database. We're going to put our sales, we're going to put our purchases, our money in and our money out, the journals, the transactions are all going to go into that box, metaphorical box. And out of that box, we're going to run some reports. And it's the running of the reports is where we start to go up the ladder of quality of information to help you improve your business. And that's the nub of it. However you arrive at your bookkeeping data, however you put the stuff in, that's a whole subject in and of itself that can be done with AI, it can be done with different people around the world. It can be processed, right? But why do we do that? We do it so that we can get some data out, some meaningful data, something that you can look at and say, what does this data mean for me and my business? And there's a very subtlety in my language there. For me and my business. I am a business owner. I want to know what this data will help me run my business. But how will it help me? How will it take off the stress? How will it make life a lot easier? And as a business owner, sometimes we are torn between spending hours and hours and hours running our business and working long hours into the evenings and weekends because we're determined to make a success of it to support our family. But on the other side, we've got this conflict that we're not spending enough time with our family and we're not seeing the children grow up and our spouse isn't seeing us enough. And so we've always got this balancing act between us of, oh, I've got to make all this work. Well, maybe the accountancy world can show you a way through this. And I've had conversations many times over the years, and recently been having a conversation with a client who's been learning some of this information himself, where we have sat down for a couple of hours with his data and explored it and pulled it out and understood what he wants from the business, understood what the business goals are. And in that few hours, we found a little bit of magic that says, it's there. Look, here's the proof that if we do this and we do that enough, it'll lead us to the results that we're after. So there's real value inside that data. So what we've got to do is we've got to get this data out into a series of reports and information that helps us do some thinking now. We've got to do some thinking about this. And that journey as we go through and we produce that information that comes out also deals with important things like the inland revenue and Companies House. And so you get in the middle here, compliance. So you've got HMRC, you've got Companies House, you might have the bank. You have different people want different reports. So this information can produce this report here so that you can do that compliance. Now, in 2026 in the UK, we've got a new thing coming in called Making Tax Digital. And Making Tax Digital is going to require some quarterly reporting. But you know what? If you're running a business and you're doing VAT returns, you're already doing that. The information comes out of here to run your VAT return. This compliance role used to be, many years ago, before technology, a primary source of income for the accounting sector. It was a primary job. Getting this information out of the bookkeeping records and turned into the various reports was a big job. We had books and ledgers. It has to be checked and verified. When I started back in the 1980s, we would handwrite the accounts out on pieces of paper using photocopies of the previous year and hand it to the typing pool who would type them up and make a beautiful report. We have technology now, we have computers, thank goodness, because it used to take weeks to do that sort of work. And the only way to do it was quietly and diligently and working our way through. Now, the bookkeeping and accounting procedure is a procedure that's set as a system. So the method of putting the data in and checking it, and you may have heard the word things like reconciliations, these reconciliations and verification processes ensures that the data is accurate. And when we have accurate data, we can then, of course, rely on the information that it gives us. But that's only one step down here. This is here at this bookkeeping and compliance level. So as we pass through here, from here to here, we are just making sure that that information is correct. But of course, it's going off to the authorities, the Inland Revenue. I suppose we don't care about them. We've got to do our thing and we've got to make sure it's all done properly. But I want to know about me and my business. How is it going to help me? So what the accounting profession has done, smartly, smart thing for them to do, is they've started working through this thing called advisory. And it's a relatively new term that's become quite popular. And it started off when these cloud-based systems started to launch into the marketplace. And we realized, as the accountants, we realized not only could the data be sent out into report, but we can also actually connect the data to other systems. So we could actually connect it to other cloud-based systems. The data can now be moved around because the computers can read digital data. And if we can digitalize the data that's coming in the first place, it makes the whole thing a whole lot easier to be able to read and start to run different types of reports. And now with artificial intelligence, there's all sorts of other things that we can do. So in this advisory section up here, whoops, use the right pen. In this advisory section up here, what often happens is we start producing budgets and forecasts and plans and start thinking about actually how does the business operate? Well, the business operates on a timeline, and we've always have the past data, and really we also want to look at the future. And the past data is, I've always said, the past data comes from your bookkeeping system because that tells you what you did and the reports that come from it. And it's the planning and the budgeting and the forecast that tells you what you're going to do. And so if you want to have a sales graph that goes up and a profit graph that goes up, you want to be able to say, well, this is what I did in the past and this is what I'm going to do in the future. It's kind of part of that planning to say, well, last year we sold X number of customers at this price and that got us to here. If we do the same next year and we increase our prices, if we do the same next year and we add on 10 more customers, our sales figure will go up. What that will also help you identify is that at some point there's going to be mission critical at some point when sales will reach a point where you can't deliver. And so you will have to increase your capacity to deliver, take on more staff, more premises, etc., whatever it is you do for your business. So there's always this thing where you haven't quite got enough sales and you've got too many staff and too much stock, and then you get a lot of sales, then you start running out of staff and running out of stock. So it's this constant battle in any type of business about all the management of stock, etc. Guess what? All of that sits here in this advisory section and account section. So you often find that your accountant sits here. The professional accountant, sits between these two lines here. And the professional bookkeeper sits here. But the problem that the software generates, especially for the end user, the client, is that you can actually get a really good bookkeeper who's highly experienced, who knows your business really well, who comes in on a regular basis, and therefore they can also do the advisory. And why not? They know all about your business. And if you trust them, and so therefore the person you employ, are they a bookkeeper or are they an accountant? Well, they could be a bit of both. Likewise, you will also find sometimes in the accounting profession, they offer bookkeeping services as part of their service. And so you have a professional team of accountants in one part of the office and they employ bookkeepers in the other. You bring your books in, they sweep it all up, they help and serve you. Guess what? It's all going into this one central database, which of course you should have access to as well. And so this bit of compliance in the middle is kind of getting squeezed out a little bit in the sense that technology is able to do that. And I know this, that when we were doing compliance 35 years ago, we charged a fee for doing compliance. Today, you could almost do it for free. If the books are really good and there's a bunch of advisory going on, the compliance is literally press a button and it's there. It's such a fast process now. Now, I'm not dismissing the fact that a professional person should read it, a professional person should understand it before it's submitted. That never goes away. As I've said before, we can delegate the process, but what we can't do is delegate the responsibility. And so somebody has to be responsible to make sure that everything goes right. And this is where this planning comes in. So the accountant's role is really important in this because they should be the professional advisor that helps you speak to the outside world with the stuff that's going on internally. Does that make sense? What we then have at the top is coach and mentor. And the coach and mentor's role, as I said earlier, I want to know about me and my business. The advisors will help you with the business side of things. But what about me? It's all very well growing my business and making more sales and achieving more and banking more money and fighting whether I pay more tax or not, but how am I operating as an individual? Who am I becoming? What sort of person am I turning into? Am I turning into this legendary business owner that I see myself in the future? Or am I just burning myself out? Am I destroying my relationships? Am I destroying my family? The balance between work and family, sometimes for a business owner, is out of kilter, and we don't know how to fix that. Well, that's where mentoring and coaching comes in, because a good mentor and coach will understand you, understand what makes you tick, what's important to you, and ultimately will help you achieve your goals and dreams. Your goals and dreams are the most important thing. Your why. Why are you doing this? Oh, I want more money. That's not why you're doing this. Why are you running your business? You're running your business because you've got goals and dreams, or at least I hope you have goals and dreams. A lot of business owners get so caught up in the bottom end of things, of the data and the numbers, that they forget. They literally forget why they're doing something. I had a conversation only last week with someone who I said, so why are you doing this? And they'd go, I don't know. They just didn't know why they were doing it. And then we got them to slow down and think about things and make some notes. And then they went, oh, I remember. I want to, yes. And they had this goal that they basically had decided upon about a year ago. They were excited about it, but a bunch of things had happened that goal had now been put in the bottom drawer, covered over, was covered in dust, and they'd forgotten about it. The moment that they reminded themselves what they really wanted out of life, the whole conversation, in fact, their whole personality changed right before my eyes. They came alive, suddenly got excited again. And we talked about it. We went into detail and they went, oh my God, yes. How could I forget that? But as soon as they did, suddenly the problems that they needed to overcome, the next thing that they needed to do, suddenly became a whole lot easier because now we had a reason for it. So the coach and mentor becomes the ultimate support mechanism that you require as part of your business. Now, in our business here at Venture Coaching, we do all of it. Okay, we don't do a great deal of bookkeeping because we don't run a bureau service, but we teach our clients and we teach their bookkeepers to do really good bookkeeping so that the information and reports come out are available to the business owner here and now. So the perception is that not only can we get the compliance done quickly and efficiently, and if you need an accountant to do that, fantastic. But you can actually be in control of it yourself. You can see what the information is so that we can run the reports and we can get you to do some planning and some budgeting and some thinking about your future from a mathematical point of view and show you how we can use this data and technology to do that. All the while experiencing regular coaching and mentoring. And it's the regular coaching and mentoring that gets into your mind as to how you're going to improve your business going forward. So I hope that sort of gives you a little bit of an understanding of the perception of all this, because there are some business owners that say they don't pay any attention to it. Oh, we don't need an accountant. We don't need a bookkeeper. I don't need any help. I know what I'm doing. I'll even do the books myself to save myself some money. And they spend all their time down here doing the bookkeeping. Great. Done the VAT return. Got some figures off to the revenue. Brilliant. But where's the thing that's helping you achieve your goals? Maybe you don't need that. That's cool. But we know from experience there's an awful lot of people don't realize that they need coaching, mentoring and advisory way more than they need just the compliance and the bookkeeping. It's another level to take you up a level. If you're interested, hey, get in touch. Otherwise, I hope this was valuable to you. You don't have to use us. Go find your own coach, mentor, advisor. There's plenty of us out there helping businesses. Go find somebody and go achieve your goals. And we'll see you soon.